to the Vesta stand here at the Property Investor Show at XL Autumn Edition, and I'm joined by CEO Russell Gould. And Russell, always great to catch up with you because always progress at Vesta, and you launched in early 2018 and you've come a long way since then, haven't you?
Indeed we have, and it's always lovely to see you as well. We've sold over £22 million worth of property. We've got £2 million under offer at the moment. We've got a £26 million student purpose-built block that's on the market that we're hoping to have some offers for later this month. So things are moving really, really well.
Fantastic. Now, what I love about Vesta, if you don't know what Vesta is, it's a platform where you can buy and sell tenanted properties. The tagline is tenants included. What I love about Vesta is that you, as a landlord, there's so much choice there. You've got, a property in up north for 40,000 tenanted, right through to a whole block of flats. So there's very wide choice.
That's exactly right. We're indifferent on the type of property or where it's located. So at the moment on the site we have just under 700 properties, and they range from £60,000 up to a portfolio of 26 million. The vast majority are tenanted or have some type of rent guarantee associated to them. And there are a variety of apartments, flats, houses, some broken blocks, some full blocks, some blocks with freehold, and then some pretty significant portfolios as well.
I think one of the reasons that Vesta has got so much traction is that there's a great deal of uncertainty around at the moment, and one thing that property investors don't like is uncertainty. But with Vesta, you get a very rare thing, which is certainty. If you're buying a tenanted property, you get income from day one. You know the type of tenant, you know their rent payment history, you know how they're treating the property. I think that's one of the main reasons why it's such an attractive proposition.
And that's exactly right. What we're trying to do is we're trying to de-risk the process of buying a property for the buyer. So we sell a property with a tenant in place. You can see the tenancy history, you can see any voids, you can see how they make payments, you can also see how they look after the property. So you know exactly what you're getting. There's no risk around, what sort of rent will you receive, because you already have somebody in place, you know what they're paying, and you earn money from the day that you purchase the property, which is very attractive to a buyer.
Definitely. And from the seller's perspective, it's that conundrum for landlords. Do I sell with vacant possession? Do I sell with the tenant? But if you sell with a tenant in place, you haven't got to worry about a void, paying for a mortgage when you've got no rent coming in, worrying about an empty property. So again, many benefits for the seller as well.
You're exactly right. We actually did a little bit of work around what it costs landlords to sell without a tenant in place. And roughly your property will be empty for around 3 to 6 months during that sales process. Now, on a 12-month basis, if you look at the number of rental properties that are sold, that costs landlords over £500 million. So it is so important that we provide a solution to landlords, allowing them to sell a property with the tenant in place. And it's also great for the tenants. If you're a landlord and you've had a tenant that's been very faithful and good to you and your property, you don't want to move them out when you're looking to sell. Wouldn't it be great to sell the property to other landlords with the tenants in place and pass over that tenancy agreement, which is exactly what we do.
Absolutely. We talk about a win-win situation, but as I always like to say, Vesta is what I call a triple win situation, because the buyer wins, the seller wins, and indeed the tenant wins because they can stay in their home. I think the other thing that is of interest is on Property Tribes. It's funny how many times I find myself suggesting that people go and look at Vesta, because we hear from maybe expat landlords, remote landlords. We had a landlord who was in the military the other day and can't be very hands-on, looking to get started. You couldn't really find a lower risk way to get started on your buy-to-let journey with buying a tenanted property for the reasons that we stated.
Yeah, exactly. Each of the properties that we put on our platform, we've undertaken valuations, we've undertaken all the due diligence on the existing tenancy arrangements, or if there's a rent guarantee, how that's going to work. We have the normal marketing pack, all the images, 360-degree views, conditional reports, often a home buyer's report, so you know exactly what you're getting when you look to purchase it. And I think it's really helpful for that first-time landlord to know exactly what they're going to get, what they're going to earn, what the costs associated to it are going to be, so that it de-risks that whole entire process.
I think some sellers, they don't really appreciate the fact that if they did go for a vacant possession sale and they didn't achieve one, they might end up becoming a very motivated seller and have to drop their price significantly. I think it's worth pointing out that with selling with a tenant in place, you know that kind of rush to sell is kind of removed, and you can hold out for more of a market value price, and you're finding that with the platform that the prices are holding up well. You're not having to sellers aren't having to accept significant discounts because the prices are holding up well.
Yeah, there's a double-edged sword there. We want to get more sales through, but at the same time, with the market like it is, if you have tenants in place while you're going through that sales process, you're not in a rush to sell. You know, you're still covering your mortgage, you're still earning money off it, so you can wait for the right buyer who's going to pay the right price for what that property is worth. And that's a solution that we provide to people who are selling, which is very helpful. At the same time, it's great for the buyer because they know that they're getting something that is already earning money and already doing well. So it de-risks the need to get a discount so that you can do the refurbishment and pay to find a tenant and potentially have a void after you've purchased it before the tenants come in place. We take all of that away.
Yeah, very good point. I think also the other thing that I like about buying with the tenant in situ is that you understand the type of tenant that you're going to inherit, I guess the word is, because if you go into an area you don't really know and you're not an expert at due diligence, you may end up having to take a tenant in receipt of benefits, which might not be something that you want to do. But with the Vesta platform, you actually know the demographic of the tenant that you're acquiring.
Yeah, you know what the tenant, you know how the tenant behaves in your house because you've seen how they look after it. You understand what their payment history looks like because you have that, and you also understand how long they've been there. You'll get an idea, whilst there's no guarantee, you'll get an idea of their intention to stay there. You know, if it's a tenant with children who are in local schools, it's unlikely they're going to move very, very soon. There's always a risk, but it de-risks it, which is, makes such a big difference. It's better to take on somebody that you kind of know and understand how they're going to operate than to take the risk of bringing somebody new in who may cause problems and not look after the property and actually cost you a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So big plans for Vesta. You've got lots of things in the pipeline. Is there any hints you can give us?
We do have a lot going on at the moment. We're now a team of 12. We've brought in some new engineers, so we're revamping the website and our platform to make it slicker and faster and work better on mobile. We have a pipeline of 3,000 properties that we're trying to onboard at the moment, so we're growing at pace. We started off with existing tenanted property. We're now working with a number of developers to list new finished builds with rent guarantees in place. We've got these student blocks. We've got a number of big blocks coming on board. And we're also looking at a few new and exciting products which I think will be very attractive to landlords and investors. But I can't tell you too much about that until we have them ready to go live.
Of course, but I know that you're investing a lot in the platform and the interface and the user experience.
It's all for us. It's all about the user. It's all about the customer, making sure we make it as easy as possible for them to effectively buy a rental property or sell a rental property. One of the things that we are doing, which I think is really exciting, is we're introducing a whole new set of data sources. So we will provide the person buying a rental property more insight into that particular property, that particular location. They're asking the demand for rental for that type of property in that type of area. What new things are happening in the area? New businesses. So you make a much more informed decision, and again, reduce the risk of purchasing a rental property.
Fantastic. Well, long before Vesta came along, I was a huge advocate of newbies starting out buying a tenanted property to de-risk, as Russell has been saying. And really, I extend that to expat investors, landlords who are not going to be able to invest close to where they live, or people that are very low risk in their attitude to risk. So all good stuff, Russell. So glad to hear Vesta is going from strength to strength. And no doubt we'll meet you somewhere down the property trail in the near future, and we can hear some more about the development and progress.
I'm sure we will. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Well, and you, and have a good show. We can see how busy the stand is. So a lot of interest in Vesta here at the Property Investor Show in London.